What's happening, YouTube?
The other day I posted a video that I called 4 Pro Tips for finding and restoring project cars, and so that was part 1, and I thought I'd throw out part 2 here tonight. I'm doing a little work on this car, which has been my taking my time lately, and so I shared a bunch of things the other day, and I thought there was a part 2 in store for this. Just a quick recap. I've kind of gotten into buying and restoring old cars in the last few years, and I've done 5 or 6 in the last, 18, 24 months. And I shared just some basics in the last video about, kind of what you want to look for if you want to have success, and not get something that's going to, be a money pit. So I had some other things I thought that would be good companion to that last video that I'll share here. And I'm actually a complete hypocrite right now, because what I'm showing you is the death-causing innards of a Generation 1 Honda Insight. The first rule of ownership of these cars, which is nobody should own these cars. And but that's beside the point. This is actually all pretty simple, easy stuff, and I'm just doing some things to it to make it as best as it can be. But that said, I want to just kind of talk about like an everyman perspective, because that's who I am. I'm not a mechanic, just doing this for fun, learning on YouTube. So, if you don't have the tools and the setup and the knowledge and the time to really get into things deep, you got to be careful when you do this. So again, I've had a lot of people say, like, how do you do this? You keep buying these cars and flipping them, and having success, making good money on them. And that's all true. So, I thought I'd just share a little more about that. And so just 4 more things. So the last time I shared 1 through 4, I'm going to share 4 more. This is, again, just kind of everyman tips. This does not apply if you're restoring an old Mustang or, a Nissan Skyline or something like that. This is just if you're like me and you're doing this for fun and you're getting cars, for, anywhere from $200 to $2,000, which is what I typically pay for the cars I've restored that you've seen on my channel. And just doing it for fun, not really to make money, although there is some money. But just 4 quick things. The first thing, and this is super important, is don't buy someone else's crap. So what I mean by that is, like, this car, I'm using this for an example for this video because this did not cost me much. It has some significant problems, but I think I have the confidence that I can make it run really well. So when I say don't buy someone else's crap, like, you don't want to get somebody's, old, Civic, Gen 6 SI that's had, a motor swap and an LSD and doesn't run and needs a tune and, is capable of 500 horsepower, but, has to get trailered home, and someone's selling it for some crazy price like that. The Craigslist and Facebook are just packed with that kind of stuff. And, most of the time that just means somebody gave up and they didn't have the money and they couldn't finish it. And really, unless you just got to have that car, that's just a real bad idea. I remember years ago, it's not on my channel, but I bought an old 1982 Datsun 280ZX. And, I went and looked at it, and the sun was setting. It was blue. It was rusty, and it kind of ran. But, I gave in, I had to have it, and it was cheap. It was like $2,000, so I bought it. And guys, I put more money in that car. I mean, that car was, you can't polish a turd. So you really gotta, like, especially if you're spending more than just a few $100s, you don't want to buy someone else's crap or someone else's project. I just think that's super important. Second thing just to talk about, second pro tip when you're buying a project car, is you got to realize that labor is free. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, this car, which I'm not selling, this is my baby, but I've probably spent, and this is not an exaggeration, I've probably spent 1,000 hours in this car, working on this car, learning about this car, reading about this car. 1,000 hours, that may be an exaggeration, but definitely many hundred. And so if I were to sell this, I'm not getting $50 an hour labor charge for what I've done to this car. It's just not going to happen. Same thing with this car. I mean, I bought this cheap. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to make probably a little bit of money, but the amount of labor, I mean, I only have had it since Monday, so that's just 6 days, and I've probably already put 50 hours of labor into it. And, you know, mechanics make about $100 an hour. So 50 times 100, that's $5,000. So I'm a garage mechanic. So let's say I make $30 or $50 an hour. I mean, to do some of the stuff I've done, for example, I've done a nearly full detail on this. It looks fantastic. That's a $200 job. So, but you're not going to make that money back. Like the 40 or 50 hours I've put into this, and I'm going to put 40 or 50 more into it. You know, let's say I put 100 hours into this at 30, 40, $50 an hour. That right there is $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and your work's free. You know, you're not going to make that back, and you need to realize that. You need to like count the cost of that. If you're, especially if you're buying and selling, like, is your time worth it? Because you're not going to get back what your time is worth. And if you're not doing it for fun, you know, if you're a hobbyist like me, you're gonna spend a whole lot of time. And you know, if I calculate it in the end of the day what I've made, if I put my labor cost in for these cars, you know, I'm making like $3 an hour for, you know, for all the time I spent once I sell the car. So you just kind of got to know that on the front end. Third thing is just, this is just a little thing, but something I would just say: find free money. And what I mean by that is, like, the way I support all these cars, these restorations or rejuvenations or rebuilds or whatever you call it, is I find free money. I don't buy any mods for any car, and I don't buy any shells, any, you know, the start of the car, credit. I don't borrow money ever. So that kind of makes it more fun because, you know, like so far I've put about 150 into this, and I had about $200 of credit card rewards sitting in my bank account. So I call that free money. It's sort of like, you know, you don't want to like use real money on these projects, because once you start dumping money and the stress comes, you get anxious. You're like, then you're wondering, oh no, like, what if I need 500 more? You know, what if I need more money? And so I would just say, like, you ought to find free money, like side jobs, you know, money you didn't expect, you know, stuff like that. Like I said, credit card rewards, stuff like that. And that's what I've always used for, you know, all the cars on my channel that you see. I always I call that free money. Just find money on the side that's not part of your regular budget. And that really takes away from like the stress and anxiety you might have if you're trying to fix a car and, you know, it's sitting out here and your power bill's up there, you know, waiting to get paid. And, you know, you got money wrapped up in the car. You don't want to have money wrapped up in these cars if this is for fun, because it will not be fun anymore if you do that. So, and then the last thing is just, I just, you know, what I would say is learn 1,000 tips or tricks, 100, let me say that again, 100 tricks, 100 failures, and 100 tools. So this is just something that I've learned in the last 10 plus years doing this. Like, there are so many little tricks you'll learn, and it just takes time. Like, I didn't know this at the beginning, but I've been modding cars now for, you know, 10 or 12 years. And there's just a lot of little stuff you learn that you just didn't know before. A great example is, like, if you look at this closely, it's a little bit cracked. So I just call these like little tricks you learn, just little stuff. And I've got hundreds of these. So that is easily fixed with this trim tape. You get trim tape, it's a couple dollars, and then you've got it. I've used that on 5 or 6 cars, and you cover it and it looks brand new. And then just this shelf is a great example. I mean, since I'm here, you know, got bulbs. This is just over the years of saving up stuff. You know, all these little connectors you get. I mean, this is a great one. This is cerium oxide. I didn't know anything about this until about 6 months ago, when I learned how to polish a windshield and get all the scratches out. And it was way cheaper than swapping out a windshield, and it totally cleaned up the way the car looked when you were sitting behind the wheel. So cerium oxide, it's glass polish. And there's hundreds of little things like that. If you're an amateur, if you're a novice like me, that you just learn over time. You know, you start collecting tools. You collect, like, I just changed my transmission fluid yesterday. So you collect tubes that can fit down into the transmission fill hole, and, you know, just all these little things. And it just takes time. Like, this took me, you know, like, if you look at my channel and think, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. He doesn't. It's just 10 years of just slowly accumulating skills and failing a lot, breaking a lot of stuff. Like I just shared in the other video, I just broke a transmission drain bolt, you know, but I figured it out. And I had a box of bolts, and I got this one random car stuff, and I've got this one, and theirs are just filled with nuts and bolts and connectors and fuses. And then I got these other ones over here that are just full of all sorts of things that I've taken off cars. You know, I just pulled all these off the Insight, so I've got all these 10mm connectors, males and females. So you just accumulate stuff, and you accumulate skills, and you accumulate you know, just understanding about how to like tackle stuff. You know, if you got to extract a bolt that's stripped, or you know, whatever might come about, and that just takes time. You know, it just takes time. So I would just say, like, be patient if you're new at this, and like if you're looking at this channel and you're saying, wow, I'd like to do that, I'd like to get into project cars, you know, like, but I don't know anything. I just say, well, it takes time. Like, it takes a lot of trial and error, a lot of failure. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, you know, it just takes a lot of you know, figuring stuff out, and trial and error. And, you know, like I said, you accumulate tools, you accumulate, you know, tips and tricks, and you kind of figure stuff out. So, yeah, that's 4 more pro tips when considering a project car. Hope that was helpful. Pray I don't get killed right now. And I'm going to keep working on this one. Thanks for watching. Peace to you.